Hello all, welcome back to Learning Partner. If you are new, please do subscribe. This is another channel where you can directly connect with me. We have around 1,000 plus members already who are working. We take live coding sessions and everything. To just get notified about those sessions, please do join this group. So welcome back to another project. So this is incident tracker. Now, many of you might have heard this word also, or you might have heard ticketing tool, right? So there are so many, it's a total different domain we have whenever we talk about the applications, correct? Like e-commerce, banking, education, health. Just like that, ticketing is also, or incident tracking is also a domain. Most famous application you might have in SAP also, we can do that, correct? In Zoho, we have a specific scenario for that. Even Jira is also nothing but a ticketing tool, but it's a project related. It's in a very vast way. But in all these different kind of application, we have something unique. Like some user will create a ticket, that ticket will get assigned to someone else, and he will work on it and he will change the status. And the user who has created the ticket, he will get to know the status. This is the basic idea. Whatever the applications you might, whatever the different products, successful product you might see regarding this, all will have it. Again, in almost every IT companies, you might be finding this application, incident tracking. Let's say you are not able to log into your system. You want some help while installing something, right? So we need to create an incident or we need to create a ticket, and then IT person will help us out. So in every company, they will have a separate application created. What is that is incident tracking. So you can see in every IT company or even every manufacturing company, everywhere you will be able to find this application. Of course, the roles and everything will be keeping changing based on the domain and everything. But basic, what's the flow? That will be same. So just that flow we are going to trying to implement. Again, as I said in the previous video also, like because of ChatGPT and DeepSeek and how they are able to help us in completing the machine test, companies are changing the way how machine tests are getting asked now. So you have to be more creative. Previously, it was like that companies were only asking you to complete the CRUD operation, but it is not like that now. They will ask you to complete a small project like this. So many students are coming to me saying like these are the machine tests I'm receiving. Like, is it really valid that they are expecting us to complete a project? Yeah, obviously, because if they provide you the CRUD operation and if you put it into ChatGPT or DeepSeek, everything what complete code you will get it. And company by seeing your code also, na company will get idea like this machine test is completed by ChatGPT or you have taken a help of, because you are not going to change anything. You will directly submit as it is. Correct? So don't do that. Even if you are using the ChatGPT now, please take the help of ChatGPT, not just whole code you will ask it and copy paste and submit it. Or try to write your code, because if you have written it code now, you will make some mistake and that mistake can be identified them also, right? Proving that you have done not by yourself. Or some companies are asking you to share your screen and do complete that machine test in front of them. Fine. So do it wisely. Now let's start. So incident tracker, this is going to be our application. We are going to use Angular 19. Two types of roles are there. One user and one the support staff. User is going to create the incident and support staff is going to work on that incident. It's a admin kind of application. Modules, login module will be there, user creation will be there, create new incident. In staff login we have to show assign tickets to him. In user login we have to show created tickets by him. User and the staff both will be able to add comments on the incident. Fine. APIs will be on over here, project APIs or jirasin.in. One admin user will be there. The username will be incident admin and the admin. So this user who will be creating the user, so this user will be creating the user. Fine. This is the basic info. APIs are over here. You can see in the background all the APIs, whatever we are going to need, all APIs over here, including dashboard, searching, and everything. UI I have already created, again, because I don't want to waste time, because video length will again 3 hours and 4 years. I don't want to confuse that. Again, I can provide you the default basic UI already ready. You can enhance this or you can use this also, because our focus should be completing on the functionality and everything project. UI anyhow we somehow manage, right? So that's why I skip the UI designing part. You can use this UI. It is already in my GitHub repo, Void Chetan. You can use it. So this is the user page from where admin will be creating user. This is the incident creation page. And this is the list where we are going to show the list. And over here, we will be able to search. You can use this also to additional filter, but any of it we will use it. Here we will show the all the list, all the incident created. Fine. It's a simple small application, but we will try to use all the new things we have got from Angular 19. Somewhere we will use template, somewhere reactive, all the things we are going to use. Fine. Now, so let's create the project. So this is the folder I normally use it. So let's open a command prompt over here. Ng new, let's say nc incident tracker 19. Just on project name I'm giving, enter. So once you enter this command, it will ask you certain questions. Which CSS framework you want to go? So I'm simply going with CSS. Do you need that SSA server-side rendering? I will say no, enter. Fine. Let it run. So it will install the node module. Fine. Let this process complete on your system. Oh, that process is completed. You let it complete. If you are on the Wi-Fi, it will be very quick. Fine. So you can see node module folder got created. Let's open this particular project into VS Code. So new VS Code window I have open folder and the path we have created. So D, Angular, and this is the folder. Let's open. Make sure if you are new, open the folder properly. First folder VS Code should be there. If you open the parent folder, you won't be able to run again. You will find error. So just open the folder properly. So once you install it now, we are in this project. I'm going to use Bootstrap. You can use Tailwind also, Material, PrimeNG, whatever you feel. If you are new, you might be knowing Bootstrap. So just go with the Bootstrap. So in package.json, I'm using a node module shortcuts. I have it already ready. But what you need to do, once you install the project, next thing will be you need to run npmi font awesome and npmi bootstrap. These two commands you to run. How you will run it? Just open the terminal. And in new terminal, you will be running these two commands. Once you run these two commands, these two entries will be added to your package.json automatically. Because I'm using reusable node module, so I don't have to do it. Here you need to add it. Fine. This will be automatically added. You don't have to do it. But after adding this in Angular, after installation in Angular.json, in style section, you need to add the script. This link over here in style section. Fine. So these are the prerequisite you need to do. Now, you are going to use my API. My API allow only 4209 ports. If you run your application on 4209, then only you will be getting the API response. Otherwise, you will face CORS issue. So make sure you run your project on 4209. So how do we run it? Ng serve -- port 4209. If you don't provide this port number, by default, your application will run on 4200. So make sure you run it. Fine. Let's save it. Now in my app folder, by default we get app folder, right? In app folder we get some basic content. Let's try to access it. Reload. So you can see this is the default page we are getting. Fine. Now let's create the components first. So in app folder, what I will do, again, whenever you are submitting a machine test, obviously I'm considering like everyone will be fresher or even having 1 or 2 experience. So I will be covering everything what you should know. Whenever you are submitting a machine test or even you are starting on a project on your company, you got any job and you are starting work, some time you might have to set up the project also. Not every time your TL or manager will set up the project. Sometimes you also have to set up the project. So make sure you create the proper folder structure and everything. Okay. So just cover just a basic I'm explaining. So in app folder, we can create component in the app folder also, but that doesn't make sense. Just we should categorize everything. So in app folder, just create a new folder. Let's say pages. So in pages folder, you will be creating a component which are going to be connected with the routes. Fine. So let's create component. Again, I said this is an admin application. We said this is an admin application. So admin application will have a login page. By default, only login page should be visible. Once user logged in, then he should see the navbar and everything. Fine. So let's create the number of components. Ng generate component. Either you can write generate component as a full form or a short form will also work. So first component I'm creating login. So as I said, it's an admin application. So in admin application, by default, we just have to show login. And once user log in, then we will be able to see that navbar and everything. So for that, I will create one more extra component where I will put my navbar. So that I will say header. Okay. In this component, I will put the navbar, and in this component only after activated route components are going to be loaded. So two component, a required component we have created. After that, what our application needs. So first component I'm going to need is for users. All the users creation will be done from in this component. Then create incident. This is another component. Now see, while I created the component, I have given the name like create hyphen I is capital. So once you create, whenever your component has a combination of two words, make sure your second word first letter should be capital. So you get this hyphen added over here. So this is the project. Now we have to follow some project standard rule when we work on a project. So whenever we create a component which has two word names, we create like this. Fine. Then incidents list. Another component I'm creating. Here we will be showing the incident list. What else we'll be needing? So user is done. Create incident. Yeah. Okay. So in project description, I have shown staff login will be able to see assign tickets to him. User login will be able to see assign incident created by him. So we are not going to have two different pages. In a one page only, based on the role, we are going to show and hide something. An API call will be also dynamic. So we should not create one more incident list page for staff and one more for user. We will be using the same component, just things will be dynamic according to the role. Fine. So just two components we are going to start with. One more component we are going to need, that is dashboard. So I'm just creating it for now. Dashboard API is also there where you will be able to see all statistic data dashboard. So I have created all the component, whatever we are going to need. Next thing, just once you create the component, next thing it should be you have to create the routes. So we got app route.ts. So let's open app route.ts. So in app route.ts, we have to create the routes. So as I said, this is an admin application. So by default, we have to show login page. So let's create a default page, default route. So path empty. If path is empty, we have to navigate, redirect to where we will need redirect login route. Path match strategy we have to space and we have to make it full path we need to match. Then we will need login route. Component will be login component. This is my default route and this is a route for my component. Then we will need another empty route. Sorry. Component header component. Okay. Why it's not coming? Header component. And after login, what are the routes you have? Those routes will be after login. What are the pages you are going to access? All those routes will be children of this header component. So here we need children. Fine. This kind of routing structure you will follow only if your admin application is admin kind of application. Fine. First route dashboard I'm creating. Component dashboard component. Fine. Like this route you will be creating. Let's create it quickly. Fine. So after dashboard, we need users. Here users component will be there. Then create new. Create incident component. And then we need one more component to show the list. We can create route by using the hyphen and everything. Okay. Incident list component. So this is our routing structure. Let's get it at the bottom. So just see it properly. This should be your routing file whenever you are working on an admin kind of application. By default, you just have to show the login page, no navbar and everything. So this is the routing structure you should follow. Fine. Here you can give the name also, but your again routing will change like that. But I love to keep it as empty only. Now we have already run the project. Fine. Now if we open, wait, let's save it. It is already saved. So if we see here, you can see login work is coming, but this data is also there. This data is coming because in app component, we have that. Let's remove that unnecessary code. What do we get when we create the project? Fine. So in app component, we just need router outlet. Now, what's the purpose of router outlet? Router outlet helps to render the activated component. Whatever the activated component is there, route activated is there. Its component it's going to render over here. If you don't have it, see, nothing is coming over here. So you need router outlet to render activated route component. I'm using this particular technical term because this is what expected in the interview answer. See, Angular has a very proper learning curve. But if you are not learning it properly now, if we compare with React, everyone says React has a boom. No, it's not like that. React has a less developer. And parallelly, Angular has more developers. So the vacancies, whatever we have, seems less because we have more developer. But in React, learning is not easy because JavaScript should be very strong. Questions are very different with JavaScript. But in Angular, we don't have too much focus on the JavaScript. They will directly jump to the Angular part. Some companies will focus on the JavaScript also. But small companies only focused on the Angular. So very limited questions are there. And if you are mistaking while answering those also, they will reject you because so many developers are there. Fine. So for every term we have in Angular, we have a proper definition. Make sure you answer that only. Fine. Okay. So if we remove it, so by default, we are getting login page. Now we need the login page. Now, whenever you are working on a machine test, login page should be like in between in middle of the screen, you should have a box and there you should have a login and the submit button, correct? The basic one. So if you are not that much comfortable with UI, before appearing to the machine test, now just create a UI by yourself so that if someone asks you to share your screen and do it, you will be able to do it that also. Fine. But I'm not that much comfortable, so I'll be using a ready-made login page. So login page HTML CSS CodePen. This is I normally search. So in CodePen, we can find so many examples. So I'll be using one of them. Why we got sign up? I said login. Okay, let's use this, the basic one I need. Why do we have JavaScript over here? Let's try to use. So what I have to do, I just need to copy the content inside body. We don't copy from HTML and body. Fine. So this is the HTML part. HTML part, I will put it into my HTML over here. Fine. We don't need the registration form. So let's remove it. We don't have this also. Again, HTML code we copied. So see, if you see, this is very small HTML, but what do we say? CSS part is a tricky one. So just create a very basic one, but your login form should look like this, correct? Like login form should not be starting with from over here. It should be center wise, something basic. No one will accept that you should be very great in CSS in interview, but at least basic you should have it. Fine. Now we don't have body. So what I will do, I will create a parent class over here. And this parent class, I will add it on a parent div. So up above this, I will create one more div with parent and whole code. I will move it inside over here. I know I'm going a little bit fast because we have to cover so many things. So, okay. So see, by default, we are getting the login page. So whatever we did, copied and pasted and make some changes and login page, it is properly working. Fine. Now, once login page is there, we can start the API integration. So if you see the API, here we have the login API. So if you see the login API, this is post API. Now, coming back to our project then, let me just close it. So from Angular 17, since we got standalone application, we don't have app module. So we have got app config. So if we have to use if you are going to make API call using HTTP client, in your provider in app config, you need to add provide HTTP client. Provide HTTP client. Fine. Then only you can make use of HTTP service. I'm just closing this. Make sure you do this. Now in app folder, I'm creating one more folder for keeping my all the services over here. We can make API call from our component also, but that is not a good way. We should keep our API call function into service. We should keep our component very lightweight. Fine. So that's why API call code we move to our services. Service. Now in this service, I will create my service. Again, it's a small application. I will be creating one service only. But if your project is very big, you will be creating multiple services also based on the model. But for now, I'm going with only single service. Fine. Let's open a new terminal. So to create the new service, ng generate service, the name I will be giving is like master. Fine. Or any service name, you can give it anything. Fine. Let it create. So you can see two files are created, spec file and this. Now, if you see, the service looks like this. Fine. Now, we have to write the API call functions. So in service, if you have to make an API call by using HTTP client, first you need to create the instance of HTTP client. So previously, up to Angular 16, we used to create instance of our services by using constructor. But a new way is there by using inject. So HTTP is equal to inject we can use. And what you will inject? Your service objects, so HTTP client. So you might have heard like, or you might have faced also. Everyone will ask you what are the various version differences. What is difference? 16 to 19, 18 to 19, 17 to 19, or 16 to 17, right? So they don't want you to remember everything because there are multiple changes. But with each version, there are some major versions. Like, see, I'm working on every version, so I know. From 16, we got this inject. From 16, we got our interceptor function as a arrow function, our authguard as an arrow function. Previously, they were services, right? So just to remember from when we got a inject from Angular 16. Fine. See, with every version, everything is the same. But with every version, something new and some things are getting changed. But whatever you know from Angular 2 plus, 4 plus, everything is the same only. Fine. Again, let's start. Now in this API call, we need to create our service. So first API call function I'm going to do with any. Okay, I need before creating class or interface, I'm going with any just so that everyone will be okay. Now login. This is my function. Now from this function, I'm going to make the API call, and whatever the data I'm going to get, that I'm going to return. So I will need the return statement. So this dot HTTP, which method we have the login? Post method, it is there. Round bracket, double quotes. Let's get the URL first. I'm just clicking on try it out to just get the URL. This is my URL. So this will be my URL. This will go over here. Post API needs URL and the object. So this is the service, right? So when we call this function from our component, we are going to pass the object. So let's catch that obj:any. So this you should not use, but in the login function only I'm using any. Every time you should create class and interface. Okay. Now let's create interface. So instead of providing it any, we should be properly providing the data type. Now we need one more folder. So that will be models. Fine. So inside this, let's create a class user. It's a simple TS file. So see what kind of object we have to send. Object is which have username and the password. Just two things are there. So let's create a class of it. So how do we create a class? Export class, our class name user. Inside that we need the properties. So username colon data type will be string is equal to empty. Fine. Then, or let's make use of the constructor because constructor is very important. So password colon string. What we did, we just created the properties. So it will say like it is not initialized and definitely not assigned in the constructor. So we have to create constructor. Now inside this constructor, we will just initialize the variable values with whatever the default value. I'm initializing with empty values. Fine, like this. So we have created a class with certain properties and we have initialized those properties into the constructor also. Now in our service, instead of making use of any, we will use our class. So we need to import it also. And whatever the object we get, that we are going to pass as a second parameter to our post API. So this object will go over here. So this is our very basic API call function. Fine. So we have created our class also and service function also. Now we can jump to the login component. So in login component, I will use template form, means ng model. So if we have to use template form or ng model, we have to import forms module over here. Fine. Now we have to create instance of our object. So login obj. Now what will be the data type? The user class. So this user I will provide over here. Instead of any over here, we are providing a proper data type, that is user. Let's import the user model import also. Now we can initialize like this. So this is what you are creating a class, you are creating an object of this particular class. So when you do like this, your constructor is going to execute and all these properties are going to be properly initialized. That's why we do the like this. Okay. Now, so we have created this object. Now this object we need to bind to our HTML. So over here, square bracket, round bracket, ng model. One advantage of using class, see, you get all the properties in IntelliSense properly. This you won't get in case of any. Fine. Let's copy, let's paste. So you don't make the spelling mistake. Let's save all. Now you will be getting one error. Let me show you that error. This error is also very important because interviewer might ask you this. So we are getting error if ng model is used within a form tag, name attribute should be set. If you are using ng model inside a form tag, then name attribute is mandatory. Fine. So in name attribute, you can pass the same field name. Wherever you are using ng model, name attribute should be present. If we save, now you don't get that error. Fine. Now, so on this login button, it's submit. So let's make it button. We need to write click event. So click on login. Let's create this function into our login component. Again, I'm repeating, like if you are new, this might be a little bit confusing to you. Make sure you complete the tutorial first because I'm not explaining everything. Fine. Now, so in this login function, we have to make the API call. API call function we have already created in our master service. So now this master service we need to inject in our login component. So master service, by using inject, we will inject it master service. Fine. Then over here, this dot master service dot only one function is there login, and this function needs a parameter. Parameter means nothing but our object. We need to subscribe whatever the result. This function is going to return the data type of observable, so we can subscribe to it. Result colon. Now, what type of data I'm going to get? See, I'm going to get data type of this. So this I'm going to use only once. So I'm just going with, I'm not going to create class or interface. Or let's create interface. I will explain the interface also. So how we created the class, just like that, one more way is there that we can use to strongly type our variables, that is interface. Those who are from the .NET or the Java, then you might find this word similar, right? So API response should be in capital I, API. These are the properties we are going to have. Interface doesn't have the constructor. Fine. Message, data type colon string. Then result will be Boolean, and data, sometimes we can get array, sometimes we can get objects. So here we can put it as any. Fine. This is the only place in your application where you will keep it as any. Otherwise, everywhere you should properly create class or interface, whatever you are familiar. Fine. So we have created API response. Now this we have to provide it over here. Let's add the import. Again, it will give the error. I will explain why. Because this login function, we didn't specify the return type, see object. And here we are trying to get the response. So from over here also you need to provide the data types. So that will be API response saying this function is going to return this type of data. Now you can see that error is gone. Fine. Means the return type of function and the subscribe means catching, the data type is same. Fine. So over here you need to write a little bit if statement. So if API call is success, result dot result, you will get true. And you will say, so we don't have to, once we log in, we don't normally show any alert box. Do you also don't do that? So many, I have seen so many students, or I also take interviews in my company. People on login, they show on success, they show the pop-up like login success. Again, user has to click that OK button. Why you are asking him to click the button? Once you log in, just logging him to the application, right? So what we do, once user log in, we need to, okay, one more thing, whatever the logged in data is there, means what, which user is logged in, that data we need to store. If you provide the correct credential to the login API, let me show you that on the Swagger. So if you see, if you pass the wrong data, you are getting false over here. False means API call was not correct. Correct. Now let's try to pass the credentials we have. So this is the username. Let's pass it. And the password is admin. Let's execute. So see, if API call is success, we get true. And in data, you get the whole object, that logged in user object. So this object you need to store to the login, your local storage, session storage, or cookie, whatever the medium you feel so, or even service also. Fine, I'm using local storage. So what I need to do, local storage dot set item round bracket. Here we need to provide the key in C user. Now, local storage can only allow data to be stored in the format of string. So we get the object, that object data, we need to convert it into string. So JSON dot stringify result dot data. We store the logged in data into our local storage. Spelling mistake is there. INCIDENT. Once user is logged in successfully, we have to navigate back into the application. So by default, we will navigate to the dashboard component. So from function, you are going to navigate to you. For that, you need to create instance of router service. Right. Let's use this. So this dot router dot navigate by URL method you can use, where you have to navigate dashboard. So let's get the path of route name of our dashboard. Always copy paste, because if you make the spelling mistake, again, you won't be able to get it. Fine. Let's try to save and check now. Since we are making API call for the first time, let me add the debugger everywhere and let me explain how this works. As I said, I'm considering everyone is fresher or experienced also. You might find something new when I'm explaining, so just pay attention. Whenever you are writing any code for the first time, even though you are working on everything, make sure you debug your code properly. What you are getting, use your mouse properly, hover everywhere on the every variable and everywhere. How your flow is going, you should be able to understand, so that your unit testing will also be done when you are properly debugging. Fine. Let's try now. Let's try the wrong password first. On click of login, see, first debugger where we have got in the login function. If you hover on this login variable, see data we got. So this is what I was talking about. Use your mouse properly, hover on every object. Now from this component, we are calling this function from our service. So once I continue, see, our service function got executed, and the parameter we got the object that we pass from the login component. Now from here, actually, we are making the API call. Once I continue, see, in the subscribe, we got the debugger. So in result, you can see result is false. And in the message also, we got username and password is wrong. Okay. So we didn't write the else block. So right now it won't show anything or anything, right? So in the else, we need the else block. So this will get executed if we pass the correct credential. So in the else, we need to show wrong credential, whatever the message you want to show. Okay, let's say. Let's try again with the wrong credential. Continue, continue, continue. Wrong credential. Let's pass the correct credential now. So correct credential, this is our username and admin. On click of login, continue, continue. So now if you see the result, you see result is true, and in the data we got the object. Fine. Now what we are going to do, if result is true, in local storage, we are storing the data. Let me just clear the local storage. So, okay, only one data is there. Still, let me clear. So once this line execute, let me show you. See, in the local storage, we got the data. And after login, we are navigating to the dashboard. Once I continue, see now, in the routing, you can see dashboard is there, but here header component is loading. That's because our routing is like that. If you see our routing, dashboard component is rendered in the header component because this route is a children of header. So by default, header component will only load. Now in header component, we should have our navbar. Fine. So in header component, we need the navbar. Now I'm going to make use of my HTML code. So where we have the navbar? In index, we have the navbar. Fine. So this is my navbar code. Let's copy, let's paste. Let me just add the remaining div. This is the first div, this is that. Okay. Now, if I say, okay, we need the CSS also. Sorry. Let me just get the CSS. Let's copy. And this we have to put into our header. Copy, paste. Let's save and check if we are able to see the navbar or not. Yeah. So we are able to see the navbar. But even though we are on the dashboard component, route is there, but dashboard component didn't load. That's because again, you have the navbar, right? So as I said, router outlet. So router outlet has the job to load the activated route component. So unless we add the router outlet, so it's not suggesting. Why it's not suggesting? In the component, you need to import router outlet. Everything you need to import, then only we can use it. So router outlet you will import. And again, router link also we are going to need. So I'm just importing that also. Then you can see it will suggest. See, it's suggesting now. Let's save all and let's test. Still it is not visible. How come? Let's save it. Let's save it. Let's inspect. So app header. No, it is visible over here, but why it is not coming? See, component is coming over here, but where it is? Oh, here it is. Why it is coming over here? Did we miss some CSS to add? This is the index page. Let me try to run it. Here it is coming properly. Where it was? Inside content. Let's add the container. But why? Let's try. Why it is going over here? Let's try. Sidebar is there. And why it is coming down bottom? Let's check sidebar. Let's check the CSS. Sidebar. And content is also there. Why it is not behaving the same? Content flex grow. Oh, okay. Instead of flex, what we will do? We will use our row column structure. Fine. So over here, I'm using row dot call 3. In call 3, I will put my sidebar. And in remaining call 3, after call 3, we will have call 9. So in call 9, I will put my content. This, I will move it over here. Let's save. Fine. So now you can see, but we got this. But why it is not working? In normal HTML page, it is working, but in Angular, it is not behaving the same. How come? Because of body or what? Let's try to create one more class. Yeah. Understood. Let's undo. We need that body class because in HTML page, we had the body class, right? So as I've done, we don't have body, right? So let's add parent div. And this parent div we need over here one more div I will create, and our whole this because that display everything is there now. I don't normally understand that, but when I stuck somewhere, then I get to understand that. Okay, let's try now. It will work. See, fine now. So once we log in, we are able to navigate to the inside the application. Now here you can see we have to show the logged in username and log off functionality also. So now how do we know which is logged in user? So in local storage we have stored, correct? So whatever the username is there, that username we have to showcase over there. So now in our header component, we need to read the logged in data. Now what I can do let's do it quickly. So in constructor, I'm making use of the constructor because on the page load, I need to run some piece of code. So I need to read the local storage data. So logged data is equal to local storage dot get item. What will be our key? What we use to store the data. This is our key name. So this we will put. So we are reading the local storage data. While storing the data, we convert it into string format. But again, if we are converted back, we need to convert it into again object format. Okay, so let's add a null check. Whenever you are reading data from the local storage session store, always add a null check. So data is not equal to null means if user is logged in, what we need to do? We need to convert our data into again object format, but we need to store the logged in data also. Logged user data colon. What type of data we are going to get? So see, in response, we are getting so much of data, but I'm not creating class or interface. Just I have already explained it. I'm using any. You don't have to use any. Fine. So this dot logged user data is equal to JSON dot parse method. So to convert string data into again object or array format, this is what the method you have to use. So this data I will pass it over here. So string object it will convert to the object format. Now in this variable I got the logged in user data. So this I can use it over here. So this is where I need to print the logged in user data. I'll be using interpolation dot username. Fine. Let's save and check if we are able to showcase the username. Yes, see inserted admin. Now on click of log off, we need to remove the local storage data and again we have to navigate to the login page. Log off. So we need to remove the local storage dot remove item. What will be our key? So our key name will be incident user. So this we have to put it over here. And on once we remove the logged in data, again we need to navigate back to the login page. So to make use of login, so again we need router inject method router. Fine. So this dot router dot navigate by URL. Where we have to navigate? Login. Fine. And this function we need to call on the log out button over here. Click. Now if you see this login, but this is the button, but it doesn't have type. So always make sure you add the type button. Okay. Not mandatory, but it's a good practice to have a type on the button. So now if you see in the local storage, we have the data. Fine. If I click on log off, coming back to the login page, let's check one more time if we have the data in the local storage. See, local storage is empty. Fine. So we have successfully completed our login page and we are able to do the login functionality also. Fine. So you can see almost 40 minutes we have need to implement the login page. But you are not going to need 40 minutes because I'm explaining also. If I'm not explaining, I can get this work done in, let's say 10 minutes max or 15 minutes. You can get it in 20 minutes, but not more than that. That should be your speed. Fine. Now we have to start with the users. So now we are going to complete the user module. Fine. So if you see the user design, in the single page, we are going to create the user, edit the user, delete and everything list also. So in a single, because see, when we work on an actual project, if your form has so many fields, let's say around 20 or 30 fields is there, so it's okay to create a new page for create. But let's say your form doesn't have so many fields in a single page, you can manage the form also and the list also. So you should go for a single page CRUD. Fine. Now, so let's start. So this is the UI which we are going to use. So let's copy the UI. So it's the page index. Let's get the index page. This is the container. Let's copy. This we have to put it inside our user HTML. Let's just try. Oh, I think we didn't add the navigation also. So in our layout, sorry, header page, here we have the links, right? So if we have to on click of user, we should navigate to the user page. So we have to make use of router link. So if you are going to use router link, first thing here we have added. So we can use router link over here. So instead of href, we have to use router link is equal to. After that, whatever the route name we have created. So in app route.ts, you can see users is our route name. So over here is route name like this. Let me just copy paste over here also. So either we will use dashboard or home. So dashboard we will use. So here we have the dashboard. So on click of home, the user will navigate back to the dashboard. Then one link for the create new and one more for the list. Let's paste it over here. Let's just change it also. Incident list, create new, users and home. Let's just save and check if we are able to navigate properly. But before that, we need to log in because we have implemented the login. So this is the admin username and the password is admin. Fine. So we are able to log in. So by default, dashboard page is visible. If I click on user, see user UI is coming, create new and everything is coming. We are able to navigate properly. Now, so let's see the user API. What things we are over here, incident. So these are the various API. Get all user API to show to get all the users. Login we have already done. Register, update user and the delete user. Register mean nothing but we have to create new user. Fine. Now, so in this, because in the login component we have used template here, I will be using reactive form so that I will be able to complete all the topics also. Now, one more tip, whenever you are appearing for the machine test now, always go for the reactive form because as I said, template form is very easy. And most of the industrial application or the, what do we say, very big application, they always go for the reactive because with reactive, you can handle so many things very easily, which in template, you have to write so much of custom code to handle that. So almost in all industrial application or a big project, you can see like we normally go for the reactive form. So just to be friendly with reactive form, always when you're doing practice also or some project also, always go for the reactive form. Fine. Now, so get all user. This is the first API which we have to call. Let's try it out. How many users we have? Yeah, so currently only 2 users are there. So this API we need to call. So first what I will do, now we are going to start the CRUD operation, correct? Now, whenever we have to start the CRUD operation, there are certain steps what you can do. Let me tell you that. So first, if you have the service, so first you can write all API call functions. Just write all the API call functions. Then UI design, correct? Once UI design is done, then create the form or object, whatever. If you are using reactive form, you will be creating a form or object you will create. Bind it. Then write all API call functions in component. So just follow some certain rules whenever you are doing the CRUD operation because that will increase your speed. Because every time if you are writing something else and next time you are writing something else, just decide the sequence. These are, I know these are very small things, but when you apply this now, whenever you are practicing, just keep your standard approach. Like first, when I have to do the CRUD operation, I will first design this, then API integration, like that. So your speed will increase. Fine. Now, so UI is already done. So in service, let's write all the API call function. So there is a service, master service. Fine. So in this service, we are going to write all the API call. So first, if you see, this thing is going to be constant, or let me just first write the function get all users. Fine. So here return, sorry, this dot http dot get API call. Let's get the URL. So this is our URL. Let's copy, let's paste. Fine. If you see this, up till now, URL is constant. So in every function, keeping this URL again and again, it's like unnecessary work. Normally, when we work on an industrial project, we keep API URL into our environment file. Fine. But for now, it's a small application. So in the service only, I will be creating a variable API URL colon data type string equal to here. So my common API endpoint will be over here. Now, everywhere, wherever I need the URL, so here I will use this dot API URL plus, then I just need to pass the method name like this. So this is concatenation. We are concatenating whatever the value we have it over here with this. This is one way. Another way is we can use template literal also. So like this, first we need to bind the variable. So this dot API URL, then get all user over here. Fine. So this is concatenation and this is template literal. So see, when we prepare for the interview in JavaScript, we have the interview question template literal. So normally when we work in Angular, we normally don't go for template literal. But if you start using template literal in Angular also, na, so you don't have to prepare template literal specifically when you prepare for the JavaScript. Same as destructuring, so many things are there in JavaScript which we don't use, but we can use it. So that will increase your confidence when you are answering any question. Fine. Again, as I said, I have explained like how we create class and interface. So for now on, I won't be creating that because again, video length will increase. But you understood like how we create class and interface. So you can create that. Fine. So API call function we have created. Get all user just like that. We will need two more. So second will be for create. That will be register. Let's just change the method name. This register will go over here. It will be create new user. And this will need a parameter, right? So obj colon any, and it will be post API. So post, and this object we will pass it as a second parameter over here. Then third method that will be for update. Let's get the update user. Oh, one more method we will be needing for the delete. So this will be for update over here. Fine. Again for update, let's check. It is post only. Normally it can be put also. For update, normally we have put API, but this API is common APIs I'm using. So I forgot to make it put. So post it is post. And again, we will need the object also. Sorry, it is post only. And this object we will pass over here as a second parameter. Third function we will need for the delete. Let's check the delete API. So delete is a delete method. And for delete API, we need to pass the parameter. Let's get the URL, something like this. So see our URL, how our URL should be. Our URL should be like this. So let's copy this. Let's paste it over here. So for delete, we don't need the object. We just need to pass the ID. So delete user by ID. See, function name should be very descriptive. For this function, you are going to need the ID. So make function name like that. So if anyone is checking your code, he will be understood that for this function, we need to pass the ID. Now, instead of this hard code, we need to pass ID and it will be delete. Fine. So we have written all our API call function into our service. Now let's close this. Now we will start the API integration or the actual code into user component. Now, so our component template is already ready. So now, as I said, we are going to use reactive form. So whenever you are going to use reactive form, first is like reactive form module you need to import. Fine. Then we have to create the form. So let's create the form. Let's say user form colon form group is equal to new form group. Fine. So we have created our reactive form. By default, I'm making it initialize as empty. We are not providing the control. We should create one more function. Initialize form. And inside this function, we will initialize our actual controls. So user form is equal to new form group. Now, what are the controls? Means what object we need to send. That only we need to provide it over here. So see, we just need these four properties. So let's just copy paste inside this. We have to remove this. Then over here, colon new form control, round bracket. It's user ID. So by default, we have to initialize with 0. Fine. Then remaining things we have to, it is string only, right? So what I can do, I will just write once. If it is string, we will initialize with empty. And let's copy this and we will replace that with this. Fine. So it will save us some time. Why didn't get replace? Fine. So we have created a user form and we have initialized that form in a function also. Now in constructor, we will call this function so that on the page load, our form will be properly initialized. So this function, we will call it over here. Fine. Now we have created our user form. Now this user form, we need to bind it to the HTML also. Let's open it side by side. See, it's very small thing. If you divide your window like two, so you save some time, right? Okay. So we have our form tag over here. So here we need to bind our form. So form group is equal to our form name. That is user form will go over here. Then everywhere, wherever you have the controls, wherever you have the input text box, drop down, whatever, there you need to bind form controller name. So form controller name is equal to, then this is username. So we will bind username over here, then full name. So what I will do, I will just copy paste for now. Learn to copy paste because that will increase your speed of development. Email ID. If you are new, try to avoid it. But once you are settled with the Angular, like how things are there, how things work, then just to increase your development speed, you should copy paste. Fine. So we have created our reactive form and that we have binded to our form also. Then on click of submit, let's make it button. Click on save user. Let's create this function. So over here, function. Now, so remember we have created a form, but for API, what it needs? Object. So from our reactive form, we can get the object. So constant form value is equal to this dot user form dot value. So from your reactive form, you can get an object using its value. Fine. Now, in this function, we are going to make API call to our function, which we have created in service. So let's inject our master service. Inject, what we need to inject? Our master service. Fine. So over here, this dot master service dot, which method? Create new user. This method needs an object. So object, we have got it over here in local variable. So this we will pass it over here. Then subscribe. API response. Or let's go with any only. Again, I have to provide the data type. Fine. So I have already explained how do we do that in the login form. So just do like that. But I'm going with any. You should not go with any. Fine. Result dot result. If it is result is true, we will say alert user created successfully. Whatever the message you want to show. And if it is else, if result property is false, we will get the message from API call only. So res dot message. Fine. Now this is our save call. Let's add a debugger. Let's check it properly if everything is working fine, data is coming or not. Fine. Let's add. So currently, if you understand, we just have two users in our application. Fine. Let's try to create one more. So let's say test 33, test 33. Again, one more thing, APIs are free. Everyone is going to use it. So wherever you provide the email ID, mobile number, name, don't provide your actual name. Just provide the dummy name. Okay. Password, let's say 334455. Fine. So this is the username. I'm just storing it over here also. And password was 334455. 334455. And this will be, let's say, normal user, means a user who is going to create the ticket, user role. Fine. Let's click on save. So now if you see over here in the form value, you see we got the form value. From our use reactive form, we got the actual object that we need to send it to the API. Fine. Let's add a debugger over here. Continue. In the result, so you can see it is saying username already exists. So whatever the username we use now, that might be already present. Okay, let's make it instead of 3344. On click of save, continue. Yeah, so see, now we got true, means user, this username is not exist, so it is allowing us to create. So user got created successfully. Let's try the get API again. Now we should get one more user. See, got it? So user we have created it, it is over here. Now we just need to call our get API. So before this, again, follow a rule. You first your variable should be there. After that constructor, then your remaining function, right? So load users. Fine. So this dot master service dot get all user. This function we are going to make. This function doesn't need any parameter. So we can directly subscribe. Fine. Now I will be using a signal. Whatever the data we get from this API, we are going to store it into a signal. So let's create a signal. So user list is equal to signal any, we are going to store array of objects. So here you can, if you create the class or the interface now, you can provide it over here instead of any, and we will initialize with empty. So we have created a signal. Now whatever the response we get from this API, that we will store into our signal. So user list dot set method, and what we will pass, res dot data. Fine. Now this function is responsible to get all the user data. So on the page load, we need to call it. So we will implement our on init lifecycle event. After constructor, your on init should be there. Ng on init. Fine. And in this function, we will call our load user function. And once we save, after that also again we need to call it over here. Fine. Now we are going to get the data into user list, so that we need to display it also in the HTML. So if you see the HTML, this is the card which we have to iterate. So here I will be using at the rate for loop control flow statement, and that too on our signal. So how do we access a signal? As a method like this, and this column, this whole div, repeated div, we have to put it inside the for loop. Now over here we have to provide whatever the value we want to display. So let's display the username. Okay, so full name we have to display. So item dot, where in which property we are getting full name, full name. After that we need role, correct? So item dot role. Then here we need to display the email. So item dot, let's get the property name, email ID. Don't assume always copy paste from the response, because if you assume, it can be anything and you might be writing anything, you won't get the error, but nothing will be printed also. So always try to copy paste it. The username. These are the sufficient data we can show. Again, if you see in the API response, we are getting so many fields, but it is not required that you have to show everything. Whatever the required field you want to show, you can use that only. Fine. Let's just save and check. We should be able to see 3 card. Yes. but UI is getting break because see over here the name was very long and here it was very short. So UI is getting breaking. But again, you can manage it. Fine. So we are able to show the user. So we are able to create the user. We are able to get the user also. Next thing will be we should be able to edit the user. So in the card, we need button to edit. Fine. So just like this button, I will add one more button. Let's say edit. Instead of danger, let's make it primary. Let's see how does it look. Why it is coming one after another. BTN, BTN. Let's add a row column. First button delete. I will put it over here. One more column I will need, and then edit button over here. Let's save and check. Yeah, so now it is proper. Let's align this to the end. Text hyphen end. Fine. So now UI is coming. Again, I'm not going to waste the time to manage this, but again, because see that somewhere names is very long, somewhere email is long. So that's why UI is breaking, but you can manage it. Okay. Now, on click of edit, whatever the record we are clicking on edit, that record should get populated over here. Fine. So for that, let's write a click event. So click on edit and we can pass the object as a parameter over here. Like which user we are editing, that whole object we are passing it over here. Let's write the function on edit. We are going to get the data colon any. Again, I'm going with any, but you have to pass class or interface, whatever you create over here. So this dot user form. Okay. Now see the benefit of creating this function. So now we have to again reinitialize our form, but with the instead of initial value, we have to provide the values whatever we have. So now I will modify this function user data colon any. Fine. So now over here, if user data is there, I will use user data dot user ID else default value. Like this, we will add it. Okay. Same like over here also, if user data is there, user data dot username, otherwise empty. So same function you will be using to initialize for the new record and for the update also. Let me just complete this. Role will go over here. Password. That's why we should have a separate function for creating reactive form, because same function you need to use when you have to initialize the form for the first time and when you click on the edit also. Again, we have to initialize our reactive form, but with the value. Fine. So once we edit this function, we will call it over here and we will pass user data over here. Let's add it question mark, because in the constructor you are calling it, right? If you don't pass it, it will throw the error like it needs the parameter. So I'm making this parameter as optional. Fine. Let's save and check. Now if I click on edit, see wherever you are clicking, that record is getting populated over here. Fine. Right. So, but if I click on edit, I should, instead of save, it should be update button, right? Because we are in the update. For update, we have a different API call. So button should be also different. Fine. So how do we identify that? So we will just create two buttons, or at the rate if condition we will use. So now from our form, so form dot controls, which control user ID dot value, if it equal to 0 means new button we have to create, means save user button we have to show. This button will go over here. Fine. And then at the rate else, if it is not 0 means we have clicked on the edit. So at the rate else, we will need one more button that will be for update. For update, let's add a warning color so that other button should be different. And on update user. Fine. Let's create this function. Just like on save, we will have one more button for update. Again, API call will be function same as it is, but just function name will get changed. Instead of create new user, now it will be update. Fine. Let's test it also. So by default, you can see save user button is available. If I click on edit, let's use this string method. Let's go with rrr or test 55 test 55 email test 55@gmail.com. Again, I'm not covering validation because others, so many videos I have created, or you can refer anyone also. Validation you can do. Let's go with 556677. Let's copy this password. Two times dot is there. 556677. This is also our user. Fine. Let's click on update. Wait, why it is giving error? It is saying for something a. Let's try in the from API call. I think we are getting some error. For which field? Okay, I think my API needs another model. Let me check for update. Yeah, I thought so. So see, for update, we have some different properties we need. So this two field we need. So let's pass that. Create also. So see, for create, we have some different object. See, and for update, we have some different object. So this is my mistake, but you just have to pass it. So we will modify our API call function. So over here, we got the values, right? So what we need to do, user form dot create date is equal to new date, current date we will pass. Then just like that, form means just in a object we created, we are just assigning the remaining field. Project name is equal to empty. Password we are already sending. Then form value dot refresh token. Again, new date also we have to pass it over here, and refresh token one thing. Fine. Let's save and try again. Now API should work fine. Now if we click on edit, record will populate. Test. What's the username we have used? This was the username. Test 555. Sorry, this was the username. Now we put email ID over here. Test 55, password 556677, user. On click of update, user created success, because the message we didn't change. But now if you refresh, actually we didn't have to refresh. Wait, why data is not there? Again, my API is breaking. Let me check the update user API. This is the .NET code, okay? What's the logic? Oh, so project name, we are sending something else. How we will handle that now? So incident tracking in project name field, this is the field you want to send, okay? So over here, instead of empty, we will pass the incident tracking. By now you will be using this thing. Now I will be updating this thing, okay? You don't have to pass these things, okay? Or these things also I will manage on my own. On API I will do the change. Let's try it again. Edit, test 33. Now 445566. Let's change the existing one. 45566. Fine. This is also user one. Let's click on update. User created success. Now here you can see test for one means we are able to update. We just have to change the message, because here Instead of created, it should be updated. So update is also done. Remaining thing is the delete one. So delete, we have to pass the ID. Fine. So when we create the function on delete, instead of passing the whole object, we will pass just the ID. So item dot user ID we will pass. Let's create this function, and ID we need to catch. Fine. Now over here, this dot master service dot delete user by ID, and here we need to pass the ID whatever we get. Again, subscribe logic. Subscribe logic will be same as it is. Just message will change. So I'm just copy pasting this. I will put it over here. User deleted success. Let's save and check. But one more thing, whenever we delete or something now, so we have to ask for the confirmation. So that we can do by checking this is delete. We will use our confirm box. Just like our alert box now, we have confirm also. And here we will put the message, are you sure want to delete? If user clicks on OK, we get true over here. If user clicks on cancel, we will get false over here. So if it is true, then only we make our API call over here. Let's test this. So if I click on delete, see, we are getting it. And if I click on cancel, nothing happens. Let me show you the network call also. If I click on delete and if I click on cancel, see, no API call is there. If I click on delete and if I click on OK, we got the API call success. And after that, one more API call will be get all users. So you can see that record also got deleted. Fine. Now we need one more user for this. So you can see that record got deleted. Okay. Now we need two users. So that's why let me just create it. 445566. It will be user save. Why it is saying username exists? I'm not deleting or what? Let me check the API. I'm deleting it. Okay, let's try 4 times 4. Save user. Yeah. Okay. So that is 4 times 4. We have to add it over here. Fine. So we are able to create the user also. So this is how we have completed our whole CRUD operation of our user thing. Again, you can add some button like over here. You can add the button for add. If you click on add, then hide and show of this form you can do. Right? This is very basic thing we have completed. Next thing, we have to start with the create incident. Now, or one more user I will be creating, 2 or 3 users I will be creating for staff user also with the admin or staff also we need to read, right? Because as we said, we have 2 types of role where it is normal user or the support staff. So this role we need it over here instead of admin, support staff. So 2 types of users should be there. One will be our normal user and support staff. User will create the ticket and that ticket will get automatically assigned to the support staff. From the API side, it will directly get automatically assigned to the next support staff. Fine. So let's start with the create incident now. So I have created some more user for the support also because we need the support user also. So support 1 and support 2, 2 users I have created. Now we will jump to the create new incident. Now, so this application is a role-based application. Whenever we work on a role-based application, if role is this, we need to hide show some things. And if role is this, we need to hide show some things. Correct? So if the logged in role is user, then only this create new should be visible because only normal user will be able to create the incident. Correct? Support user won't be able to create. Fine. So let's hide this create new link for support user. So how do we know like what's the role? So in local storage, we got the data, correct? So here you can see we got the role. Currently, we are logged in with incident admin. So only if the role is user, then only we need to showcase this. So our navigation is inside our header component. Fine. So in header component, in this variable, we got all the data. So over here at the if logged in result dot role, if it is user, let's check the spelling also. Yeah, capital user only. So if it is user, then only we need to show this create new link. And if it is admin user, then only he should be able to create the all users, because normal user should not be able to create all the users, correct? So if the logged in role is admin, then only he will be able to see the users page where, because admin only will be able to create the users. Fine. So this user page will be available to admin. Let's save and check. So here you can see we got user page, incident list and home. We are not able to say that user. Let's try to log in with the user. We created this user and password was this. Let's paste. Wrong credential. Why it is saying wrong credential? Let's see one more time what we are passing. Someone might have deleted it or what. Yeah, data is going correct. Let's try with second user, which we created just now. This should be there. The password is 445556. Yeah, so this user exists. So see, if I'm logged in with normal user, you can see create new link is visible and user link is not available. Got it? So this is role-based thing. When if you log in with one role, you get to see some different things. If you log in with other role, you get to see different things. Role-based authentication. Fine. Now in create new, we need the UI, this UI. Fine. So let's copy this UI. Let's copy this whole thing. Let's paste it into create an incident. Over here, let's save. Fine. So you can see UI is coming properly, but why it is looking something different? Okay, icons are not coming. Let me see from where I was using icons. I was using this in the template. So let's use this. So I'm not going to install this now. So I will just put this link into my index.html. This we should not put our links into over here. We should install it and then in angular.json we should put it. But for just to save the time, I'm doing like this. Icon color is not coming. I think some class might be there. Let's check what's the class. We have it over here. Yeah, so let's copy this and let's paste it into our global CSS. Let's save. Yeah, so see, color is also coming now. So this is the page from where we are going to create the incident. Let's check the API for creating the incident. Create incident. Okay. So if you see the object, what things we need? Incident ID. This is primary key. So by default, 0 we need to send. Created by logged in user ID. Who is creator of the incident? Who is the creator of this incident? So created by, here we need to pass the logged in user ID. Assigned to, this is going to be automatically assigned to the user. Okay, let me check if I have done that code in the API. I think I have not done that code. Where is create new incident? Yes, I'm not assigning it to some user. Let me just quickly do that also. So I have changed my API something like, if let's say, uh, let me explain the scenario. Let's say incident one is created, it got assigned to user one. Fine. If again I'm creating, if some user is creating incident two, it will get assigned to the next available user, let's say user two. Something like round robin. Next user it will check and it will assign it to him. So for that, I have changed my API a little bit. Okay. Now let's start the Angular work. Fine. So let's create this object. Now, again, I will be using template form because we don't have many dynamic validation or something is there. So we will simply go with the template form. So this object we will copy. Let's close everything. We just need this to file. Now, we are going to use template form. So first thing, forms module we need to import. So forms module we will import. Then we need to create the object. So incident obj colon any. I'm going with any. You should create your class. Okay. Make sure you create that. And let's replace this string with empty one. And created date, by default we need to send the new date. So new date over here. Resolve date also we can pass it as null. I'm not sure if API will allow that or not. Let's try. Fine. So we have created object. Now this object we need to bind it to our form also. Fine. So over here, incident object, we need to bind it. Square bracket, round bracket, ng model. This dot. Now what I will do, this is everywhere, right? Class. So I will replace this with this. So little bit time we will save. And on the drop down also we need it. So let's quickly bind it. Fine. Now everywhere we need to just bind the properties. So these are some shortcut skill you should apply. Then this is going to be our title. So over here, title. And since we are using ng model inside a form tag, we need that name property also, right? So let's add name property also. Let me just quickly copy paste. Fine. So we'll start at the end. Is assigned to, by default, we don't have to show it. So let's remove it. Created by also, because we are going to read the local storage data and then we are going to assign it. So just priority we need to assign. Then priority. Okay, status. So by default, status should be new only. What's the status I have? Let me check if I have added some validation on the status. I didn't add any validation on the status, I think. Okay, let it be. So on the front end side only, we will decide like what status can be. So by default, it will be new, or by default, it will be open. So here I will assign the open and I will disable it also. Fine. So that user won't be able to select. Then this is for priority. Priority, we will bind it over here. Then this is for description. And first one is for title. Fine. Let's save and check if we have got any error or not. Something is there. Expected identifier, incident object, somewhere we didn't add property. Where it is? Let's reload. Yeah, it is proper. But why the status is not selected? Let's check one more time. Here we have said open. And here also we have the open. But why it is not selected? Okay, let's bind the name properties. We forgot that. Description and title. Let's save and check now. Yeah, so now you can see, since we bind the name property, open is by default selected and we are not able to change it also. Now, so on click of save, on click of submit, we are going to integrate the API. Fine. So again, we have to go to the service. Let's add one more function. So that is going to be post API. So I'm just copying this, create new incident. Let's get the method name, create incident. Again, this method name, you can put it into your constant, right? Instead of putting it into over here, you should put this static thing into your constant. Again, I have created so 3 or 4 videos related to how do we set up the project. You can watch any and just implement that constant thing also. Now, so we have this submits. Let's make it button. Click function on save. Let's create this function. Again, in this function, we are going to make our API call. So master service, we need to inject master service. Fine. So over here, this dot master service dot create new incident, and we need to pass our object. So this dot incident object we will pass subscribe and the user logic. Let's see the response. So response is status. We are not going to return that result message or data. So status code we are going to play over here in this API. So subscribe result colon any. If API call is success, the subscribe will execute. If it is there, if any error is there, it will go to the error block. Fine. Let's add a debugger over here. So also add a debugger, or let's say alert. Subscribe will execute if API call is success. Incident created success. Let's just save and check if we are able to create the incident. Let's check if we have some incident previously. Get all incident. This is the API where we can see all the incident. Okay, some incidents are already there. So last stage is 16. Fine. Let's try to create. So let's say consider like an IT company is there and we have to create an employee is going to create an incident. Let's say he want to install VS Code. Need new version of VS Code. Fine. So in big companies, we cannot install any software for everything. If you want to update, you want to install, you have to raise a ticket and then your IT person will come and install that. Fine. Some description, priority, let's say, hi, I need it quickly. Let's inspect and let's check. So on click of submit, yeah, one API call is there, but you can see error block got executed. So here you can see no support stop available. How come? Why it is saying no support stop available? Okay, so spelling mistake incorrect is there. Sorry, that's my bad. So this role we are passing, no? And there it is support. Fine, let me just redeploy my API again. Let me build API again. Okay, let me redeploy. This is my server where I deploy my APIs. So I'm deleting the previous build. Then I'm uploading the new build. Fine. Let's try again. Now we should get the rules and it should assign properly. Fine. Let's try now. Continue. If I try to execute again, still we are going over here. Why? Okay, now we have got some different error. Let me check what's the error now. It is saying an error occurred in the inner labs exception. I need to debug this now. Why it is going to inner line exception? Let me debug this API. Because we forgot to pass the created by. Okay. So let's try to pass the created by. So created by is in the logged in user data. So how do we know the logged in user data? In master service. Okay, we didn't create that in master service. So in header API, we read the data, right? So that same thing I need it over here also. So this thing I'm going to copy. I need the logged in data, right? So for that, I'm just copy pasting some things. Router anyhow we are going to need, or let's close it. So in logged in user data, we are going to get the logged in user data, right? So that we need to pass. So this dot incident object dot created by, here we need to pass this dot logged in user dot user ID. Let's try one more time if we are able to create it. Otherwise, I need to test my API. What is going wrong? And created by assigned to, we need to send it null. Let's pass it null. That might be breaking because I might have required or something on the model. Let me check one more time if I have added the required thing over there. Assigned to is null only. Fine. Let's try now. Hmm. Something detail I'm passing. Now if I click on submit, yeah. So see, now if we pass our created by ID, so it got success. We are able to create. Now let's check. So see, the ID is assigned to where it 18. Let's try the gate API. So 16 was the latest one. Let's try again. Execute. Yes. So see 18 and it got assigned where assigned to support one. So see support one, the ticket got assigned to the support one. Fine. So this is how we have created the incident. Now, in user login, we should be able to see the incident created by me only, correct? So for that, we have a different API. Let me show you that. So get all incident API is to filter to get all the incident. This API we will integrate into our admin role. So get incident created by user. So this is the API. If normal user logged in, he should be able to see incidents created by him only. So this is the API we need to use. So let's say I pass with one. So just the URL. Okay. So this URL function I'm going to create now. So this is simply a get API. So let's copy this. Let's paste it over here. Method name, and this same everything will go into our method over here. We will need the parameter. So ID colon number, and this ID we will pass it over here instead of hard code. Again, dollar curly bracket ID. Fine. Now, so as I said in the beginning, this is the single component which we are going to use for admin also, support staff also, and the user also. Based on the role, we will call another API. Okay. So here again we will need to read the local storage data. Fine. So let's get that local storage data. So this thing I'm going to copy. Again, this is kind of a repeated code. Instead of writing in every component, we can do that in the user service also. I will create one more video for this where we will do all the advanced things. Fine. Now, so on the page load, we will get the local storage data. Here, we need to again integrate our master service. So master service inject master service. Fine. We need one more API call function get incident created by user. So this dot master service dot what's the this function we need to call, and for this function we need to pass the logged in user ID. So this dot logged in user dot user ID dot subscribe round bracket result colon any. Fine. We need a variable where we will store the incident list. Just a normal variable I'm creating. You can create signal also. Whatever the data we will get, that we will assign it over here. Fine. Let me just format it. Now, so on the page load, we need to call it. So implements on init. So ng on init. So now here we need to add the role check. If this dot logged in user dot role is equal to user. If user role is there, we will call this function. Right? Just like that, let me create the remaining function also. Just like the same. Get all incident. Then this is by user and this is for assign. One more API will be there to get the assigned user. Means if support user logged in get role, logged in role is logged in, right? So we need to show the ticket assigned to that support role. So for that, this is the API. Let's quickly create this also. Fine. So we have three different API call function. Get all incident. Let's just write that also. So if user role is there, this, then if this dot logged in user data dot role is equal to, what's that second one? Incident admin or something, no? Let me get that role. Incident admin. So if logged in role is admin, we have to call one more function over here. Get all incident. We don't need to pass parameter over here. We don't need parameter over here also. Sorry. Get all incident over here. Make sure you copy paste properly, okay? Get all incident. It is in parameter. Oh, parameter we didn't remove. Fine. So this function we will call it over here. Okay, sorry, else if we need. And one more else if for our support staff. Let's get the role of support staff. So this is the role name. Assigned to user. And here also the logged in user ID. So see, if user is this, we will call this function. If it is admin, we have to show all the incident created by all the user. And if it is support, only incident which are assigned to you, you will be able to see. Fine. And we got the data. That data we need to bind it also to the HTML. Let's get the HTML code. This is the list. This is the UI. This is the whole UI. Let's copy this UI. We need to put inside incident list. Fine. Where is the okay. I need that HTML because in this JavaScript I did. So this is the code. And row it will be fine. So this column I need to repeat. So over here I will be using @for loop. The variable will be incident list. I might be going a little bit fast, but these things I have already covered. So that's why. So here interpolation we need to use. So item dot, what was it? What's the first name we need to bind? Title. Title. Might be saying, oh, this we need to complete. After this, this column we need to move inside this. Still, why it is giving error? Did we miss any column or something? What did we miss? Okay, let's write it complete first, then might be able to see. Description over here. Priority over here. Status over here. Created by and assigned to. Yeah, so error is gone now. Let's just save all and let's try. So current user is normal user. So only one ticket should be visible. See, this is the ticket I have created, the logged in user test purpose. So if you check the network tab and if I reload, see API call is going like this, right? Let's try to create one more. What I will do, I will create one more user now. I'm logging with admin. We will test that flow also. Login, continue. Now if I navigate to the incident, you can see get all incident because I logged in as a super admin. So all the incident I'm able to see. See what are the incidents we have in the API, that all are visible. Fine. Now let's log in back with the user, staff user. So this was the support one. One ticket was assigned to him. Let's try to log in with him. Incident list, not available. Error is there. Okay, so URL is going incorrect because in the service we might not have done the changes properly. This is repeated like this. Let's save. Yeah, so see this particular ticket got assigned to me. Okay, now in created object, you can see we got the object. See, over here, see created by and assigned to, it's an object. Okay, so for instead of binding that directly, we can make proper data. So user dot create username. Sorry, what's that? Assign to dot username. Assign to will be object, right? So assign to dot created by, what are the things we are getting? No, just the username. And same thing in created by also. Assign to will go over here, created by will go over here, and username. Let's save. So see, it is created by this and assigned to this support on whatever the logged in user, right? Now, the basic thing, role-based login, the logged in role is able to see the data created by him only, right? Everything is available. Now, if I know like what tickets I have to work, suppose I am logged in with support, so these are the tickets I have to work. Then a simple update API call we will be doing, and there we will change the status. Just the status property we need to. But why status is not visible? Let's check one more time. Is it not coming from the API or what? Status is coming, but why it is not visible? Okay, spelling mistake was there. Open is coming. Okay. So the basic flow is completed. Admin login is able to log in. So let me revise once again. So admin login is able to log in. He is able to create new users. He is able to see all incident. Correct. Then normal user will able to log in, create new incident, and support stop. He can only see incidents assigned to him. So this is the basic flow. Then again, so much flow might be there, but this is the basic flow. Like I said, like in the starting Jira or any ticketing tool you say, this is the basic flow where it will be. Then admin user will again open the ticket and change the data. Simple update call. API is also there. Let me show you the API also. Update incident. So this API is also there. Again, comments are also there. But in this video, I'm just putting a limit to the basic flow. One more video I'll be creating continued to this where I will implement the comments and status change and everything. This searching also I need to implement. So this thing I will be explaining in the second video. Fine. So I hope videos are helpful to you. Make sure you are not pausing the video and writing the code. Make sure you watch the video complete and then understand it, then try to implement it on your own. If you are doing like this, you are watching the video, pausing it and writing it down, that won't help you. That is just a spoon feeding. You are doing it to yourself. Don't do that. Watch the video completely, how I have implemented, what's the flow we have to do, then start your code. If you stuck anywhere, then you can watch again, but don't pause and watch. That won't make any sense. Fine. If you are new, please do like, subscribe, join my WhatsApp group also, which is mentioned in the video description. I am taking some live session also. You can directly connect with me. Any interview tips you need, any discussion you want to do career wise and anything, I'm open to that. Okay. So just join that WhatsApp group also. That's it for now. Thank you guys.